I found out my mother planned to give away my entire future, and she did it with a smile. That discovery hit me harder than any betrayal I'd ever imagined. I wasn't snooping, I wasn't eavesdropping, I was helping. That's the irony. I had been the responsible one, the daughter who handled Mom's appointments, paid her bills on time, and cleaned up after everyone else. And yet, all the while, she'd been writing me out of her life. Legally, I'm Emma Hayes, 31 years old, a financial analyst living just outside Chicago. My younger brother Ryan is 27, charming, impulsive, and spoiled since the day he learned that tantrums got him what hard work never would. Mom, Caroline, has always had a soft spot for him. "He's just trying to find himself," she'd say whenever Ryan crashed another car, switched another major, or borrowed more money. Meanwhile, I found myself twice over. First, through college scholarships I earned alone. Then through a career I built from scratch. I bought my own condo, drove a modest car, and still sent money home when Mom's emergencies mysteriously aligned with Ryan's bad luck. Family gatherings always followed the same script. Ryan bragging about his next big break, Mom smiling indulgently, and me quietly calculating how long it would take before she asked if I could help him. Just one last time. But everything started to shift the day I stopped by to drop off her new prescription and overheard her lawyer's voice on speakerphone. "So to confirm, Caroline, the estate, the house, the accounts, the life insurance, all goes to your son, Ryan?" There was a pause. My mother's tone was calm, certain. "Yes, Emma's doing well. She doesn't need it." "He does." I froze in the doorway, my heart pounding so hard it made my vision blur. It wasn't the money. It was the message, "You don't matter. You were never meant to." That night, I tried to reason with myself. Maybe it was just a draft. Maybe she'd misunderstood. But the next day, she called Ryan, laughing, "Don't tell Emma about the will yet. I want to surprise her later." Surprise me? The kind of surprise that shatters trust beyond repair. When I confronted her gently, she brushed it off with a smile. "You're successful, honey. You don't need my help. Ryan's had a harder life." A harder life? The man who hadn't held a steady job in 3 years? The man whose hardship was self-inflicted? I left her house in silence that day, but something inside me cracked. And then hardened. I'd spent my entire life being the good daughter, the reliable one, the fixer. But as I walked to my car, I realized something chilling. If they could erase me from their future, I could erase them from mine, and that thought, calm, deliberate, and strangely liberating, was where everything began. It's strange. Once you start seeing the cracks, you realize they were always there. You just chose to look away because it was easier to believe your family loved you fairly. After overhearing that call, I began to notice everything. Mom's tone changed when she spoke to me. Brisk, distracted like I was a distant coworker, not her daughter. But when Ryan called, her voice softened instantly. "Oh, sweetheart, are you eating enough? Don't worry about rent. I'll handle it." That phrase, "I'll handle it," became her anthem. But whose money was she handling? That question started haunting me. One weekend, I dropped by unannounced to bring groceries. She had mentioned she was tight on cash again. Her car wasn't in the driveway, but the garage door was half open. I peeked inside. A set of shiny golf clubs leaned against the wall, still in their wrapping. I knew Ryan didn't play golf. He collected hobbies like debts. Later that week, I checked her Facebook page. She'd posted pictures from a steakhouse dinner with him. Caption, "My baby boy treating me for once." But I knew that wasn't true. The restaurant tag showed the payment had come from her credit card. I wanted to confront her, but part of me hesitated. Maybe it was denial. Maybe it was exhaustion. Every time I brought up Ryan, the conversation turned into guilt. "Emma, you've always been so independent. You don't need help. You should be happy your brother's finding his way." Finding his way. That phrase made my skin crawl. Finding it. Through her, through me, through anyone who didn't say no. The real punch to the gut came a week later when my cousin Melissa called. "Hey, did you know your mom's helping Ryan buy a car?" She mentioned it at brunch, a car. Mom had told me she was living month to month. That night, I checked my own bank app, and there it was. A Zelle transfer I hadn't noticed before. $1,000 withdrawn for family expense. My name was listed as a joint holder on one of her accounts. The same one she used for shared bills. She'd used it, without a word, to help him. I confronted her again, shaking. "Mom, you used my money," she sighed. "Like I was being unreasonable. I'll pay you back. Emma, you know Ryan just needed a boost. A boost. From my savings." I hung up before I said something cruel. My chest ached, not from anger, but from grief. Because I realized that in her eyes, I was never her daughter. I was her resource, her safety net, the invisible scaffolding holding up the child she actually loved. I didn't explode that night. I didn't cry. I just sat in the dark, staring at my reflection in the black mirror of my phone, realizing the truth that hurt more than anything else. You can love someone your whole life and still be nothing but their backup plan, and that realization was just the beginning of the storm. The confirmation came on a gray Thursday. Fitting, really, for the kind of truth that drains all color from your world. Mom had called, chirping in that too bright tone that always meant she was hiding something. "Emma, sweetie, could you help me organize some papers? My lawyer said I should keep the copies safe." For a moment, I almost believed it was her way of including me again, of bridging the distance between us. I said yes, stupidly hopeful. When I arrived, she already had the dining table covered in manila folders. The scent of lemon cleaner hung in the air, sharp, almost sterile. Ryan wasn't there, which I took as a blessing. Mom smiled, poured coffee, and handed me a folder labeled "Will, Final Copy." I froze. "Should I look at this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. She waved her hand. "Oh, it's just paperwork. You're so good at details." So I opened it. The first page was her signature. The second, the line that changed everything. "I, Caroline Hayes, leave my entire estate, home, savings, and personal assets to my son, Ryan Hayes." There was no mention of me. Not even a token. Not even my daughter Emma. I scanned the pages twice, then again, my hands trembling so hard the coffee rippled in its cup. "Mom, what is this?" She blinked, then smiled. The kind of smile people give when they think you're overreacting. "Emma, you don't need it. You make good money. You're stable." Ryan's had a tougher time. Tougher time? I snapped, my voice shaking. "You mean all those years of bailouts? The car accidents? The loans he never repaid? You're rewarding that?" She flinched, then stiffened. "You've always been dramatic. You don't understand what it's like to love a child who struggles." That word, child, hit like a slap. 'Cause that's what I wasn't to her anymore. I was a transaction, a safety net, a means to protect her favorite. The betrayal wasn't just in the will. It was in every choice leading up to it. Every time she'd told me, "You'll be fine," while emptying my savings. Every moment she'd dismissed my exhaustion. Every holiday she'd spent praising Ryan while criticizing my tone, my job, my boundaries. I stood there shaking. "So that's it? You're cutting me out completely?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The silence said it all. I left the house in a blur, the folder still open in my hands, the pages fluttering in the wind like cruel confetti. By the time I reached my car, the shock had turned to something darker, a quiet, cold certainty, because betrayal doesn't always scream. Sometimes it signs its name neatly, notarized, and smiles as it hands you the pen. And as I sat in my car, staring at her signature, I whispered the only promise I meant to keep. "If I was written out of your will, I'll write you out of my life." For a few days I was numb. I went through the motions, work, gym, sleep. But everything felt mechanical, hollow. I couldn't shake the image of my mother's calm face as she told me that I didn't need what she was giving away. Like my worth could be measured in dollars and dismissed in a signature, I'd always believed that being good, being responsible, being there for her meant something. But standing in that empty condo, I finally realized I'd mistaken servitude for love. The breaking point came a week later. Mom called me, cheerful as ever. "Emma, could you help Ryan apply for that small business loan? You're so good with numbers." That was it. The same pattern. Another handout for him, another expectation for me. I almost laughed. My chest tightened, not from sadness but from something sharper. Clarity. "No, Mom," I said simply. She paused, surprised. "Excuse me?" "No, I'm not helping him. Not with the loan, not with anything." Her voice rose. "Emma, he's your brother." "No, he's your project, and I'm done funding it." For the first time, I hung up first. My hands shook, but not from fear, from release. I sat on the edge of my bed, heart racing, realizing how quiet the room felt when you stopped apologizing for existing. That night, I opened my laptop. I pulled up everything I'd helped her organize over the years: insurance papers, financial accounts, property deeds. I'd always handled her records out of duty. Now, I studied them with new eyes. Every document, every statement told a story: where money came from, where it went, who benefited. And it wasn't me. I saw the pattern clearly. Her entire financial life was structured around cushioning Ryan's failures. I closed the folders slowly, my decision solidifying with every breath. They thought they could erase me quietly. I'd return the favor, only louder. But this wouldn't be about revenge in the petty sense. It would be about reclamation, about drawing a line in the sand and saying, "No more." The next morning, I called a lawyer. Not to contest the will, not yet. I wanted to understand my rights. How joint accounts worked, how power of attorney could be revoked, how transparency could be demanded when manipulation hid behind family love. By the end of the meeting, I had a plan: legal, methodical, airtight. That night, as I sat by my window, city lights flickering in the glass, I whispered something I'd never said before. I don't need their approval to have peace. The pain didn't vanish, but it transformed. It became focus. It became fuel, and it became the quiet fire that would burn down every illusion they'd built around me. Because if my mother wanted to pretend I didn't exist in her will, I'd make sure she finally felt what that absence truly meant. If the last part of me was quiet fury, this part was cold strategy. I stopped imagining dramatic confrontations and started building a dossier. Revenge, if it was going to be justice, needed structure: dates, receipts, witnesses, and an audience that couldn't be shushed with a smile. Step 1. Document everything. I printed the will and every financial statement I had access to. Old emails where Mom asked me to take care of bills. Texts where Ryan casually thanked her for covering things. Bank transfers with cryptic memos like "family help." I scanned, timestamped, and backed up copies in 3 places. Emotion is messy, evidence is not. Step 2. Trace the money. My lawyer taught me how to request account histories properly and what to look for: transfers, beneficiary changes, odd withdrawals on weekends that matched Ryan's trips. I compiled a timeline: vacations, new purchases, and the moments Mom told me she was tight and needed me to help. The pattern screamed intent: cushion the child, squeeze the daughter. Step 3. Corroborate with witnesses. Not everyone will stand up publicly, but many will admit what they've seen in private. I reached out, gently, without accusation, to cousins, a longtime neighbor, and Melissa, the cousin who'd first mentioned the car. A few were reluctant, but 2 agreed to write brief statements about having heard Mom promise money to Ryan or seen him using assets that shouldn't have been his. Their notes felt small but powerful next to the ledger. Step 4. Set the bait, legally and carefully. I asked Mom in a neutral email if she could forward scanned receipts for some shared expense reconciliation I was doing for my taxes. Predictably, she hurriedly replied, and in her rush, forwarded a draft email to Ryan outlining what to say if I questioned certain charges. It was arrogance at its finest. She forgot that haste leaves fingerprints. I saved the forwarded draft. It read like a roadmap of their plan. Step 5. Line up professionals. I didn't want this to be messy or vindictive. I wanted it clean. The lawyer prepared a legal brief outlining options, from mediation to potential recovery actions if funds were misused. I also quietly contacted a consumer columnist who had covered family disputes before, not for clicks, but to ensure public scrutiny would be available if needed. Step 6. Plan the reveal. Timing mattered. Mom and Ryan still felt untouchable. They posted pictures of lunches and joked about family first. That cockiness was my countdown. I chose. A moment when witnesses would be present, a holiday brunch Mom loved hosting, and planned to lay the evidence out calmly, in front of people whose opinions mattered to them. I kept my face composed, but at night, my chest burned with anticipation. The binder on my shelf, neat, labeled, heavy, felt like a promise. They strutted through life assuming I'd stay small, grateful, compliant. Their confidence made them careless. Their carelessness would be their undoing. The trap was invisible and surgical. Now all I needed was the right moment. It happened on a Sunday. Mom's annual family brunch, the one where she wore her pearl earrings, insisted on fresh lilies, and made her famous lemon tart. The table was flawless. Silver cutlery, polished. Glasses, laughter floating around like nothing had ever been wrong. I was early. So was Ryan, sitting beside Mom like her golden boy, spinning a story about his new business venture, one funded, I knew now, by her. "Emma," Mom greeted, voice honeyed but tight. "I'm so glad you came. It's been too long." "Yeah," I said, laying my tote bag beside my chair. "I brought something for you both." Their eyes brightened. Probably thought it was a peace offering. When everyone settled, the cousins, the aunts, the family friends who always whispered about poor Emma, the practical one, I stood. My voice didn't shake. "Before we eat, I think it's time we clear something up." Ryan laughed nervously. "What is this? A toast?" "Something like that." I pulled the binder from my bag and laid it on the table. "This is a full record of Mom's financial transactions for the past 5 years. Money that was supposedly for medical bills, home repairs, and family expenses, but ended up in your accounts, Ryan." The table fell silent. Forks froze midair. Mom's smile cracked. "Emma, this isn't the place." "Actually," I said calmly, "it's the perfect place. You've spent years telling this family I was selfish, that I didn't help enough. But while I was paying your bills and saving for my own future, you two were funneling my contributions into his lifestyle." I flipped open the binder, the forwarded emails, the transfer records, the text where Ryan bragged about Mom handling things while he shopped for a new car. The gasps around the table were deliciously sharp. Ryan's face drained of color. How did you even— I'm an accountant, remember? Numbers talk." "Lies don't." Mom reached for my hand, desperate now. "Emma, please, we can explain." I stepped back. "No need. The lawyer already has copies. And since you used my name on several of those transfers, there's now a fraud investigation. I didn't want to do this here, but I thought you deserved to hear it from me, before the news does." Her eyes widened. "The news? Oh, didn't I mention?" I said, voice cool. That consumer columnist I contacted, she's publishing the story this week. About financial abuse within families, with names. The room buzzed, cameras clicked, whispers swirled. Mom's perfect brunch turned into a battlefield of shame. Ryan stormed out, knocking over his mimosa. Mom sat frozen, staring at the wreckage of her image. I took one last look at her, at the pearls, the trembling hands, the silence that replaced her usual command of the room. For years you made me feel invisible, I said quietly. Now everyone sees you. And then I walked out, leaving the house and them crumbling behind me. 3 months after that brunch, peace had a new sound. No more constant calls from Mom demanding family unity. No more guilt texts from Ryan pretending to be the victim. Just the quiet hum of my apartment, the one I chose, with a view of the city and walls that didn't echo their disappointment. The fallout had been spectacular. The fraud investigation went public faster than I expected. My brother's business turned out to be a web of fake investments. The moment the article dropped, his investors pulled out, and his company collapsed overnight. Bankruptcy. Eviction. The Golden Boy's empire was dust. As for Mom, her precious reputation as the pillar of grace in the neighborhood shattered. Friends who once admired her started whispering about how she exploited her own daughter. Donations dried up. Her social circle vanished. The woman who used to judge everyone else was suddenly the one being judged. And me? I finally felt free. I didn't need their approval anymore. I built my own firm, small, honest, and thriving. Clients respected me, not because of my family name, but because I earned it. One evening, as I was closing up my office, an email pinged. It was from Ryan. I lost everything, Emma. Mom won't even talk to me now. I know I don't deserve it, but please. Can you help me? For a second, I almost laughed. The irony was poetic. The same brother who once told me I'd never survive without them now begged me for a lifeline. I stared at the screen, then typed 2 words. Block, sender. No anger, no satisfaction. Just peace, because sometimes revenge isn't destruction, it's liberation. A month later, I got a letter from Mom, handwritten, shaky. Emma, I was wrong. I see that now. I wanted to keep the family together, but I only drove it apart. I lost you, and that's my punishment. I read it once, then folded it neatly and placed it in a drawer. Closure didn't always come from forgiveness. It came from walking away. Now, when I look at the skyline from my balcony, I think about how much of my life I wasted trying to earn love that was conditional. I stopped chasing it the day I realized I was enough. And that's the thing about poetic justice. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. They took everything to make me feel small. But losing me was the one thing they couldn't afford, to viewers. Have you ever been betrayed by your own family, the people you thought would always protect you? Would you have forgiven them or walked away like I did? Tell me your story in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes the best revenge is finally living free.